Kakadosh Boker Or, Daf Yomi Masechet Zevachim, Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph, but we're going to start in Lamed Vav Amud Bet, the new chapter, Perek Revi'i. This is going to be the fourth chapter, which is the new Mishnah. Mishnah says, Bet Shammai Omrim, Bet Shammai comes and it says, Kol HaNitanin Al Mizbeach HaChitzon Shenatam Matana Achat. We know that usually on the Mizbeach HaChitzon, how many matanot do you have to give? How many matanot do you do on Mizbeach HaChitzon? How much? How many matanot? Matanot are sprinkling of the bloods. So usually you do minimum 2, which become 4. Shte matanot shen arba. You remember we said that you do it on the side, on the corner, and then so you have to give 2. One on this corner, and then one on the other side of the corner. So you get all 4 corners. Okay? So shte matanot shen arba. Here it says, what happens right now if you only did 1? Shenatam matana achat. Yeah, instead of 2, which become 4. So kiper, it's going to be okay. By the chatat, what happens if you give 2? How many do you usually have to do on the chatat pnimit? 4. In the inner one, you need all 4 corners. On the inner mizbeach, it's all 4 corners. On the outer mizbeach, it's 2, which become 4. Okay? So he says over here, that means if you did less than what you needed to. It's going to be okay. And therefore, if you did the first one properly, on the second one that was chutz zmana, it's still a kapara. But if you did the first one not properly and the second one outside of the chim koma, it's a pigul because you did the first one chutz zmana. And you're going to be chayav karet. Everyone understood what happened? One more time. That means basically, since it was already enough 1, right? Since it was already enough 1, so therefore, exactly. So it's going to have an. That's the continuation of the Mishnah. If it was going to be any korban which was in the inner mizbeach, if you went and you lacked one of them, lo kiper, it's not going to be a kapara. And therefore, if you did all of them properly and one of them you did not properly, it's pasul, right? Because again, you need all of them. The end will karet, but there's no karet, right? Fine. Says the Gemara. Let's see. Tanu Rabbanan, learn to the Braita. How do you know that if you sprinkled 1 on the outside mizbeach, you're going to have a kapara? How do you know? Maybe you need 2 which are 4. So it's mashma sheficha achat. He says, that's what you learn it from there? He says, you need it for something else. Why? Right? You need it. How do you know that you always have to put blood by the yesod? The yesod is on the bottom of the mizbeach. How do you know that you always have to put the blood on the yesod? So that means if you need that pasuk of dam zevachim yishafech on the yesod, you can't use it for 1 matana. So answers the Gemara nafkale mid Rabbi. He learns it from Rabbi. The time we learned to the Braita Rabbi Omer v'nishar badam mimatzeh shen tamur badam. What does mean matamur badam? לפי שלא למדנו אלא ניתנים מתן 4 שטעונים מתן דמים ליסוד. שאר דמים מנין, how do we know? תמוד לומר, right? בדם. לימד על כל הדמים שטעונים מתן דמים ליסוד. He says we learned on all the damim that you require מתן דמים ליסוד. Okay, so says the Gemara, והקתי לאח יהודתה, he says this is what you need it for. He says, מבא ללך לתניא, you need it for that which we learned in the Braita. מנין לניתנים וזריקה שנתרם את שפיכה יצא. How do you know that if you're going to put it in the zrika, that you put in the shficha, that means instead of sprinkling it, you poured it. How do you know you're going to do the chovah? So again, you need it. That means you need it that even if you didn't sprinkle it, but you poured it, you're also going to be chovah. So he says, that it's not the same thing. The Tanam, as we learned in a Mishnah, if you made a bracha on achilat korban pesach, you were exempt, right, on the shalmei chagiga, which is brought with it. But if you made a bracha on the shalmei chagiga, you lo patar et pesach. Tivir Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Akiva Omer, it can never exempt one to another. Velo zu pator et zo. None of them exempt each other, because it's 2 completely different things. One is the shalmei chagiga, and one is the korban pesach. They're 2 completely separate things. So therefore, he comes and he says now like this. So he says, so therefore, according to him, he's saying that shvicha and shficha and zrika are 2 different things, right? One of them is throwing, and one of them is the thing. He says, but that's what you need it. You need it for something else. Since it says bechor shor, bechor kesef, or bechor es, למדנו לבכור שתאום מתן דמים ומונים למזבח. We learned that the bechor also needs מתן דמים ומונים למזבח. מעשר הוא פסח מניין. How do you know about the מעשר in the Pesach? תמוד לומר דם זבח ישפך. So you learn from here that because it says dam zevachecha yishafech, we learned that the maaser and the Pesach needs matan damim. So now, again, how many things can you learn from the same three words? V'dam zevachecha yishafech. At the beginning, we wanted to learn that it's already enough shvicha achat. Then we wanted to learn it's going to be shvicha le'yisod. Then we wanted to learn zrika and shvicha. Now we're coming to learn maaser and Pesach. What's going on? So answers the Gemara, Savla Yozek of Yosegelile. The time we learned in the Bright of Yosegelile Omer, Lo ne'amar ela damam, et damam tizrok. ואת חלבו תקטי לא נאמר אלא חלבם. לימד עליו בכל מעשר ופסח שטעון מתן דמים, אומרים את זה, he says they're all the same. Why does it say in like in plural? Matan, right? He says always damam, חלבם. Why? So he says the reason why is because all three of them are together. The matanan, one of them is already enough on the three. Rabbi he says, can you do both? Can you learn also that shvichat dam, you're going to be Yitzhak Chovah, right? And then the other one he's coming to teach you the Maaser and the Pesach is also going to be one. Can you learn two halachot from the same pasuk?
We're still talking about the outside, right?
Yes. So he says, you're right. It's two Tanaim according to Rabbi Ishmael. And therefore that's why we have machloket. What is his shita? Sometimes we have that. So he comes and he says like this. So Bishlema Rabbi Ishmael. It's going to go into Rabbi Ishmael. The mukim le'lekule bechor. That he says everything is to do with the bechor. I need dichtiv. That's why he says ufsaram yelach. Right? Rabbi Yosef. But according to Rabbi Yosef, the mukim le'namim maaser pesach. Maaser pesach bali machlele. He says my ufsaram yelach. What does it mean that ufsaram yelach? So he says echad tam ve'echad balmum. Doesn't matter whether it's going to be a tam or a balmum. Everything is the side is going to be to you. That means sometimes you have a bechor tam which is going to be brought on the mizbeach, and sometimes you get a bechor that has a mum which is not going to be brought. So it's coming to teach you that both of them have to be given to the kohen. So the bechor tam obviously he's going to eat it, and the balmum they're going to do shchita b'chutz and they eat it as chulin. That means even the bechor mum you still have to give it to the kohen, but he's just not allowed to eat it inside the beit mizbeach. He has to eat it outside. Right? Lamed zayin ubet. Okay. לימד על בכור בלמום שניתן לכהן שלא מצינו לו בכל התורה כולה. We didn't find another מקור. Rabbi Ishmael is nafkele, he learns it from Lechayye, from the Seifa. Meaning since it says Lechayye, it's going to be for you, that's where we learn that the Bechor still goes to the Kohen even though it's a Balmum. Right? But just again, he's not allowed to eat it inside the Hechal. They do it outside. Bishlem al Rabbi Yosef Le'ayin, according to Rabbi Yosef Le'dumukila Nami Mizbeach, that he's going to learn it in the Mizbeach. Right? Maaser Pesach, sorry. Hainu dichtiv, that's why it says, Lo tivteh kodeshem. Hem krevin ve'en tmunatan kreva. That means they could only be brought, but not the tmura. Tmura is a substitute. So Tanam, as we learned in the Mishnah, tmurat bechor, tmurat, right, maaser. Hen uladan ulasof v'golo. Lama re'en mekebechor, it's like a bechor maaser. V'yachlu b'muman le'ba'alim, and it's going to be eaten. Utnanan, we learned in the Mishnah. Amar Rabbi Yoshua says to Yoshua, Shmati she'tmura Pesach kreva. I heard that it was brought and wasn't brought, but I don't know how to explain it. But rather, according to Rabbi Ishmael, how do you know? So he says, Maaser, gamar avodah mi bechor. That means the Maaser they learn from the Bechor, and the Pesach is written mefurash. Meaning we're trying to learn it from where? So he's saying the Maaser we learn it from the Bechor, and the Pesach they learn it, it's written mefurash, therefore you don't need it. Kesev, when it says Kesev, matamul omar, in Kesev, lerabot murat Pesach. לאחר הפסח, שתקרב לשלמים. So it comes out like this. What happens if you have a Pesach that was pushed off? So what do you bring it as a shlamim? So I would have thought to say, what about before Pesach? Right? Also should be the same halacha. Tamulomar zev Pesach hu Hashem. Hu is the Korban Pesach itself, but not the Tmura. Meaning it's not going to be a din in Pesach. V'chol hanach tanai, right? So he says, v'chol hanach tanai demafkel lehai dam zv'chi yishafek l'drash achrina. Meaning like this. I said at the beginning, right? We said as follows. How do you know that if you're going to give one out of the two matanot, you're going to be Yisrael Chovah? Again, we're talking about the outside. You did one out of the two. You're Yisrael Chovah. Where did you learn it from? According to all the other rabbis, that they learned other things with that. Whether it's going to be they learned the Maaser in the Pesach, whether it was a Shficha instead of Zrika, whether each one with their Shita. But if you're going to learn something else with it, so then how do you know this halacha? That even if you did one out of two, that you're going to be Tzur Chovah. So he said, Savrele, the whole like Bet Hillel. According to Shtat Bet Hillel, even if you did the chatat with one, you're going to be mekaper. And they learn everything, from the chatat. Meaning all the other korbanot, they learn it from the chatat. Just like by the chatat, if you did one out of the two, you're going to the chuvah. So one out of the two, you're going to be Yosef chuvah. The chatat, shte matanot. What about the chatat, which is 4? This is the inner chatat. Because remember, the outer chatat was 2. But the inner chatat, you needed 4. How do you know if you do 2 out of the 4, you're okay? It comes out basically you're always doing half. Because 1 out of 2 is half and 2 out of the 4 is half. It's not 1 out of the 4. 2 out of the 4. How do you know that if you did 2 out of the 4, you're going to be okay? So Ravuna says, my time to explain what's the reasoning of Bet Shammai. Karnot, because it's written 3 times. Karnot. So 3 times 2, 6. So he says, Arba'a is a mitzvah. V'shtaim la'akef. Why does it say 6 times? 4 times is a mitzvah lechatchila on the 4 corners. There's an extra 2. 2 is me'akef, meaning you have to do minimum of 2. It's not an extra 2. It's like minimum 2. Right? That's what he's saying. But according to Bet Hillel, karnot, it's written karnot without the vav. You understand? It's written twice. So he says, Harekan arba. So it's only 4. And therefore you have 3 lemitzvah and 1 leikuv. 3 is a mitzvah, lechatchila. And only 1 of them is lekuva. So it says, why? Maybe all 4 are for the mitzvah. You understand what happened? Basically, this is like Sukkot. Do you remember we spoke about that with a Sukkot, with a Vav or without a Vav also? Basically, since it was written without the Vav, so I don't say it's a... How many walls and all those things, also the same thing. So here, the same thing. Here, when I come and I tell you that it's karnot, but without the Vav, I don't say it's 2. Maybe it's only 1. So it's written 3 times karnot. 3. So it's 3 lemitzvah, right? V'echal leikuva. So he comes and he says, yeah, but 1 second. But he says, all of them are for mitzvah. So he says, kapara bichti lo ashkechan. He says, no, you need a kapara for something. Meaning that you do need a minimum. Right? Or if you want, you can answer another answer. The reasoning of Bet Hillel is ahani mikra ve'ahani masoret. There's a pasuk and then there's a masoret. Ahani mikra letfu yechada. The pasuk is coming to add in 1. The masoret is coming to take off 1. Right? What does that mean? The pasuk was coming to teach you that ki'ilu, that it's lashon rabim, but the masoret is coming to teach you that you're taking down 1. So therefore, that's why he's saying that it's going to be arba for the mitzvah and 1 la'akev. Meaning, how many times do you have it? You have it arba, but that's the mikra, that's a pasuk. But the masoret is that no, it's without the vav, so therefore you're taking 1 down. So therefore, that's why it's going to be 1 down. Okay. 1 down means that you only have 1 for ma'akev, to impede. So it's 1 to impede and 4 for mitzvah. Ela me'ata, we're going to have another question now. So now we were talking about, you remember when it's written full or not full. Totavot, totavot, totavot. So you've got twice without the vav at the end, and once with the vav at the end. This is talking about tefillin. So arekan arba, you have 4. So ahani mikra ve'ahani mesoret. Chamisha batei ba'elemevet. So according to you, so you should have 5 then. You should have 5. Because you have the totafot, which is going to be times 2, right? And then you have the other, the totafot. We just said that it's going to be 4. Why 4? It should be 5. Yeah. So he comes and he says, because basically according to the Masoret. So he says, he holds like a Kiva, Damar, tat bekatfe is shtaim, pat be'afrika is shtaim. Meaning when it says totafot, it's tat pat. Rashi brings us down. So tat pat means 2. Meaning already in the word totafot, you already have that it's 2, that it's 4. That's how we have 4 parashiot on the tefillin. Right? Ela me'ata, and then again we brought on the Sukkot. Basukot. Twice it's without the vav and 1 with the vav. So he says, ahani mikra v'achani mesoret, chamisha. So you should make 5 defanot. Yeah. So he comes and he says, hatam, right? Dal chad ligufei. You need 1 for itself and 1 for the schach. So therefore you have a hilchata grita l'shlishid v'ukumet hatefach. So therefore you're going to have 1 for itself, 1 for the, that's 2. And then you have 1 that the third wall is bringing it down to a tefach. V'ukim to a tefach. And then that's what we're going to continue for tomorrow.